Hey everyone, this is Neil with Wasted Paper here, bringing you another fountain pen review. This time we're looking at a Montegrappa pen. I actually have 0 videos on my channel of Montegrappa. This is the only one I've ever gotten, and this video was delayed for a while. If you saw my other video, you heard me talk about that, but let's get straight into it. On the outside, you have a green slip cover. Once in there, you get Montegrappa's logo, which I actually give them credit is one of the best logos I think out there. On the side of the box, it tells you which pen I have. It's You're the Dragon, fountain pen, fine nib, and then Royal is Royal Purple, which is the color I went with. On the other side of the box, this is a limited edition release. I did the damage to the box, so ignore that. They made 333 of the purple one, and the other colorways, they did 888, so this is the most exclusive one, but for some reason, most places had this at the same price point, which I think is kind of crazy. I give them a lot of credit for this box. It is super nice looking. Inside the box, you have the pen. It does come in a branded plastic sleeve right here. Underneath that, you get a cleaning cloth, some ink cartridges, and then a manual that says You're the Dragon. Inside of here, it does tell a story about the design and theme behind the pen. Feel free to pause the video if you'd like to read that. Starting off at the top, you have a debossed Montegrappa logo that is flat on top. Then you have a flat coin on the bottom that tells you which number you have. I have number 9 out of 333. Down from that, you have their clip, which has a nice little bounce on the top here and goes to the bottom. It is one of the rollerball clips. I don't know what the name of this one is because it's a bit different than I'm used to seeing. It's a pretty stiff clip. You can get under here, but it's taking me quite a bit of pressure to do that. Down from that, you have this really nice engraved cap band. It says Montegrappa on here as well. Going down from that, you have more of the Juma resin, which just makes this pen stand out from the rest so well. You have a single ring on the end here. This is not a piston filler, so that doesn't denote anything, but they do have that nice decal. It takes 2 full turns to uncap the pen. You have plastic threads on the inside of there. One of the biggest features of this pen, and what caught my eye for sure, was the dragon nib. They have this decal on here. They call it the Hungry Dragon. It is etched into the nib. You can feel like a grainy kind of texture on here, and it just looks really, really nice.
Oh, I love a dragon.
The grip section, I would say, is sizable enough. It looks a little short, but it's wider, so I don't feel any issue holding this pen. Last feature is you have an ebonite feed. On the inside of the pen, there is metal threads, and it comes with a Montegrappa branded converter. It does have a step down on the material right here, which I actually really like. It helps give you a really nice, secure fit right here once this is screwed back on. I think that's nice attention to detail and craftsmanship. For those curious, the pen does post. It's like a friction fit. You don't really feel anything as it slides down. Once it's on, but if you don't push with that intent, it may look like it's on, but I can feel how loose this is, and it doesn't take much to make that completely loose and fall off. You can see it right there. I almost missed this, and I want to make sure to call it out, but on the back of the cap band right here, it is stamped 925, so the band is sterling silver. I'm not sure if the other metal accents are, but I would think they maybe are to help justify the price point. I don't want to look like a complete fool trying to pronounce this ink. This is the name right here of it, but it's the collaboration ink from Andoryllium and Mythic Pens. For my writing sample, I'm going to be using one of these little petite journals. Someone gave me this at the pen show, a friend I attended with. He bought it. He said it was like $2, so might as well show off this paper. As for the flex, this is with no pressure, with, none, with, none, with. Quick side note, the paper wrote great. I'm not sure really much about this at all, but it writes really nice. It's cool paper. It says Petite Journal. If you know more about it, leave it in the comments down below. This is a fine nib. This doesn't totally write like a fine nib in my opinion though. It's just a little bit more broad than you would think. I would say it's maybe like 0.5 millimeters bigger. It's not a full size up, but it's definitely a bit closer to like a medium fine than I would say a fine. There was no issues with the pen running dry at all. Where I kind of lifted my hand, I could see it kind of trail off, but that's just me lifting my hand. As for the flex, Since this is an 18 karat gold nib, I didn't expect a lot. Any of the 18 karat golds I get tend to be on the stiffer side. I don't know why, they just tend to not flex as much, but I got a decent amount here. It's about 2 times, I'd say, and there is a bit of shading. You can see it throughout that. That could be a testament to this ink though. Right here, when it's side by side, you can tell that there is flex to it. Not a lot. I'm not going to push these tines too much, but there's a little bit of a bounce. The ink flow works fine. Again, no stopping. And again, there's some nice shading where I'm lifting up. It gets a bit lighter, but that's just because this ink has some nice shading properties, or at least that's the way it's coming off here. Overall, it writes a lot better than when I first got it, but I'll save that story for the end. Now onto the size comparison. I have my Lamy Safari and my Pilot Custom A23. When they're all capped, the Montegrappa is the shortest one here. I'm really surprised by that because in hand, this pen does not feel short at all to begin with, but I did not expect it to be shorter than the Lamy Safari. That's really interesting to me. And then of course, if it's shorter than that, the Custom's going to be bigger. Again, the Montegrappa is the shortest one here, which is another surprise. This pen, because of the width, and I've already said this, but it really does not feel like a short pen at all, so I'm surprised that the form factor is underneath the Lamy Safari. Yet again, another surprise. When it's posted, it is the longest pen here. When I was writing, I didn't post it myself. I don't really think it needs to be posted. Again, the width feels great, but I am surprised to see it's now the longest one after being the shortest the rest of the time. The MSRP for this pen is $1,500. It is definitely not cheap. On Atlas Stationers, where I got mine, they had it for $1,350. Plus, it was on a final sale because it was their last few they had. So I actually got this half off. It also comes in multiple colors. You had the option to get indigo, which is the blue, mamba green, laguna blue, which is a lighter tealish turquoise blue, and then the one I got, which is royal purple. The only nib options were extra fine, fine, and medium. I mentioned this story earlier and I'm going to talk about it now. When I first bought this pen back in January, the nib itself, it just was not good. To put it as nicely as possible, it would ink, it would write, but it was like it kept hard starting or it would just stop flowing in the middle of it. I've never had a pen really do that, and one at this price point, I definitely didn't expect that to happen.
I don't believe this.
Even with the sale, I got it for half off. It's a ton of money. $500 is crazy amount of money, right? And that's before tax.
Taxes! Taxes!
I was a bit emotional, so I held back making that video because I knew if I made the video at that time, it was all going to be reactionary, right? I don't want to talk bad about a pen. I want to give it a chance. So what I did at the Atlanta Pen Show is I took this pen and I got it tuned and smoothed. I didn't want to do a custom grind. I just wanted to get it tuned and smooth so I could do a proper review of it. I think 1500 is super high, but even if you got it at some of the other retailers who had it for like 1200 or 1300, that's a ton of money for this pen. I love Juma, don't get me wrong. I have this pen right here. This was one of my Grails from last year. It's still one of my Grail pens. This pen retailed for, I think it's 550 euro. So let's just go up and say it was 600 bucks. The retail of this was half of this. In some cases, less than half. They both have the Juma material. They both have number 8 nibs with ebonite feeds. When I factor that in, to me, I just don't see it. They both have the pattern where they used one solid bar, so the Juma lines up perfectly. The Leonardo that I have is a Momento Zero Grande, so it's a bigger pen. It's hard to show at this angle, but it's a bigger pen. This has sterling silver accents, but other than the accents, I mean, there's not much else going on. All the accents on this one are sterling silver, so it beats it there. And this one is limited, it's numbered on the box, but Leonardo said they only made roughly 2 of these per color. These are limited too. It's not stamped on here or anything, but neither is this one. I just think for the price point that they had this at, it's just too much. Again, my nib was defective from the start, but even after I fixed it, it's a gorgeous nib. You know, the dragon they have on here, that's unique. That's beating Leonardo out for sure. Not a ton of pens come with a custom nib like this, but not a ton of pens cost this much money. So I don't know. I like it. I'm happy with it. Don't get me wrong. Now that it's tuned, it's a nice writer. It's a gorgeous pen. Obviously, there's no denying that. But I think the price point is just far too high for this pen. I hate to say that. I hate to put any flag out there in the world, but it's just too much. The 4-digit retail for this, I don't think it's worth that. I think what I paid for it, stellar, awesome, great price. I still wanted it to write, so add an extra 30 bucks for me to do what I did. Overall, now I'm happy with the pen. Obviously, I wasn't in the beginning. I might still have a little bit of that emotion going on. I think if you love the Juma material like me, this is one you're probably going to end up picking up, but I think you got to find it on sale. I don't see this as a 4-digit pen. Not to me. Some people maybe, some people it can be, but it's just not to me. All that being said, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below.